My name is Alicia, and this is for my Death and Dying class.
Hi, my name is Alan.
Okay, so I'm just going to summarize what I wrote about regarding if I had only 6 months to live, what would I do? It's really important that I finish what I started, so I will complete my bachelor's degree. I am set to graduate in spring, so if anything, I can um, finish all my requirements during the winter semester, and I'll also continue with my PhD applications. It would mean a lot just to know that I was qualified and recognized for my passion for politics and research, even if it means not doing the program itself. I also had a goal to travel to at least one country in each continent. So I started with Africa, starting in Egypt and Tanzania, and then moving on to Europe, like Italy, Spain, and England were some of my top choices. And then after Europe, I'd like to go back to Japan to see my family. I did mention that I wanted to hold a small wedding at a shrine in the mountains near my mom's hometown in Mie. She is too old to travel, and every time growing up going to the shrine, she had mentioned that she'd like to see me get married there. And they're also famous for hosting traditional weddings, so it would mean a lot to host at least a small wedding there. Um, Afterwards, I briefly wrote about visiting South America, specifically seeing the Carnival in Brazil, visiting Peru to specifically pet a llama was also on my list. And then I talked about hosting a smaller wedding in the US for the friends and family that couldn't come to Japan. And then within my last 2 to 3 months, I assume traveling is just going to be too hard on my body. So I'd like to move to Puerto Rico because that's where I plan to retire anyway. So if I'm going to be um, dying, I guess, earlier than planned, it's kind of like a retirement. Um, I want to rent a small house by the beach and use my remaining time to do guest lectures or work with nonprofits and help local communities. I'm sure you know my work has been um, serving the Puerto Rican community, so it would make sense to end my life doing the same. Um, Fast forwarding to, like, let's say my final week of life, maybe even final day, I would really like to be in a quiet room, either in like a reclining bed or chair somewhere I can face the ocean, like maybe putting it on the balcony. um, I did mention that I wanted a pina colada as my last drink in the hand because I'm sure you know how much I love pina coladas, so it'd be fitting to have one in my last moments. I did say that I want music in the background, although I haven't decided specifically. I guess it just depends on whatever my favorite song is at the time. And I would like my parents, obviously you, and some of my like closest best friends from childhood to now, to be there. But I did add that like I don't really want everyone to be talking during this time. And I know it kind of sounds rude on the surface. Like, of course, my parents are going to want to say goodbye. They're going to want to, like, talk to me. Um, but I think I would schedule, like, a separate day, maybe a week before, like, host an informal party where they can talk to me, say final thoughts, anything they wanted to share. But when it's, like, my death day, I kind of just want it to be quiet. Like, I'd rather hear the ocean than like other people mourning because then I'm probably gonna cry and I don't want to be like grieving and crying on my last day. I just want peace. Um, so yeah, that summarizes to me what a good death would be. It's very important that I leave in peace and not fear. So, um, being that you're my boyfriend, I did mention that I'd like to get married before I die, just to have that like accomplishment done, even though it's way sooner than I've planned. So feel free to share any thoughts. What do you think about my plans? Like if that were to happen.
So you'd only have 6 months to live, right? This is all within 6 months.
Right. But 3 months of really being healthy.
Okay, so the first 3 months you're really healthy. The last three you start to
Deteriorating.
right. Okay, so the plan on wanting to still like finish out school for your undergraduate and then like still apply to PhDs just to see if you got in or not would have been very daunting but also very fulfilling because at the same time then you know that if you really did have the time you'd be able to complete something like that because they take you for who you were or are. Then traveling, wanting to go to Africa first, right? Going to Egypt, probably seeing one of the wonders of the world. Then, then followed by a different country in Africa. Then going to Europe. Then Peru to pet the llama. I think that's all really cool. Traveling would be amazing. On top of still trying to um, develop your research and what you're trying to fight for, what you're most passionate about. I think that's really nice. Traveling to get married, even if it's as way sooner than we thought, that's something I really agree with because I have deep regard for you, and honestly, it's something that would give you at least I want to say closure on knowing that you were able to fulfill something that you probably dreamt about as a little kid, and it's something that would also help me fulfill it as well, knowing how much I care for you and what I feel for you and that. So I think that's going to be a really happy time. Now doing it in Japan, I think that would be amazing, be so beautiful, and then having another one in the US would be nice too, to like you know all the friends and family here would be able to see it. Now, I was surprised that you said a smaller wedding here in the US. I'm like, wow, so we must have like a gigantic wedding in Japan because the small wedding here would probably be like 500 people.
I mean, I did specifically write having a small wedding in Japan too. And it's funny you mentioned this because I did write like had I not had 6 months to live, my dream wedding was this huge, grand, expensive wedding. But I'm also trying to think about, because you do have to think about the logistics of it. I rather spend the money on travel and preparing for my death. Like, at that point, having a big wedding isn't as important. Like the designer things, I just want them to like
Happen.
see it. Yeah, like
Right.
like oh, she finally got married. Like that kind of.
Right.
It's about the connection, not so much, not to like invalidate my desire for like a glamorous wedding. But if it comes to like dying, then I have to make choices. Like I can't
Right.
afford a $50,000 wedding when I'm dying.
Right. And it'd all be pretty like quick and pulled together really fast. So I understand that. Yeah, no, I think it'd be cool. Now I was a little surprised, but in the end, after thinking about it, not so much that in the end, the last day, you wouldn't prefer it for anybody to talk. You have your drink in your hand, and then just being able to listen and see the waves and enjoy it, really see the scenery and kind of like making your peace and going into the next chapter, right? The unknown. I think that's fair, very, very respectable. Now, I think just a little like just trying to be serious, but at the same time, just knowing that everybody's just staring at you too could just make me feel like a little uncomfortable. Only because obviously we care about you, but then we're gonna be like, no, since you're not talking, so we're like, she's like still looking at the waves, or do we check like once every hour or once every 10 minutes? Be like, oh, hey, how you doing? You still here? But obviously we don't want to do that either. But yeah, no, I mean, I think it's pretty cool. I would I would definitely do my 6 months. Um, Similar to yours in terms of travel, in terms of your achievements. That's actually really cool. So yeah, I like it a lot, and I think it spells out you in a real quick 6 months. You know, someone that still thinks about their success and their impact that they could possibly make right before they leave, and then still like enjoy your life as much as you can. I would definitely be probably a little bit more destructive on my last 6 months, so that's awesome.
Something that I was curious about, not everyone can like drop their lives um like in these circumstances. Like you would still have classes, you would have to finish your degree, or you'll have work. But like obviously, I don't want to travel alone. I don't want to do these things alone.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote about wanting my boyfriend there. Um, I know it's hard to think about because it's not our reality now, but it could be. So if that were to happen, like how do you think you would be able to handle that if I came to you saying, like, I'm going to die in 6 months? I want to just, we can finish our degree by the end of the year, but, or I can finish mine, but I want to go and travel after that.
Mm-hmm.
How would you react? Like,
So
realistically.
obviously, the first thing is the only thing that I'd be really looking at is the financials,
Mm-hmm.
because it's your life and it's essentially my life connected to yours. So I want to go with you, and I'm gonna look for the opportunity to, because it has to be possible, even if it's living frugally. To travel, maybe try to make some money here and there. Um, I'd probably have to see if maybe like, and not being insensitive here, but realistically, the thing that probably covered the most would be your life insurance policy and stuff like that, where I'd have to be willing to get into some debt knowing that maybe that could be covered to like help me be able to travel with you. Um, because if not, then assuming it happens today, where I don't have a full time position anywhere, I barely make enough to cover for myself, and then I'd have to drop out of school essentially or take a break from school. That'd be very difficult. Now, if we're saying if it's, let's say, 3 years from now, where I just started my a full time position, like a year into it, I still didn't have enough money to be like, oh yeah, I saved enough for 6 months of doing whatever the thing I wanted to do with. So that would be mostly the one thing that I would see for the money. Now the years of experience, if I lose that job, at that point I lose it. I'm sure I could get another one if I was able to get that one in the first place. But yeah, it's just the financials in the end. I want to be with you, but I also have to think about the afterwards. Like, if unfortunately, if you do pass like that, I shouldn't set myself up in a position that will mess my financials up, because then it could just lead me into a dark path. Losing you is already going to be very hard. So, so yeah.
For the record, that's the end of the interview, but just for the record, I don't have life insurance, so if I go missing or if something happens, he's not responsible. I do not have life. It was just hypothetical. I do not have life insurance.